Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Credo. I want to thank all of you who showed up here today and the people who are on Zoom joining us electronically. Today, our speaker is Rich Greene. I bet everybody in here knows him. He's volunteered around our community in many ways. Most obvious being music, obvious in that we see it. We hear it, we sing in the choir and playing the guitar and playing the chimes and lots of things. He was also very instrumental in helping us get our solar panels here, which is a good thing to make us more ecologically sound. And when I asked him his volunteer things he'd done, he said Santa. So I think that means you've done snacks with Santa, is that right? Or are you really Santa? I'm not sure.
Real Santa.
Okay, all right. Rich will speak for about 20 minutes, and then we'll take questions for about 10 minutes. And in this time, if certainly we'll take them from those of you in the room, and also people on Zoom can write your questions on the chat. So I'll turn things over to you, Rich, and welcome.
Thank you. This is Symphony number 9 by Beethoven, which is certainly a joyful thing, and we're doing it this weekend. So I got, after we do this, I go do it again this afternoon for the matinee. Wow. The my talk has 3 parts. So the first part is about the Mandelbrot Set, which is a mathematical construction. Oh yes, please. And the formula says you take a complex number and you add a constant and square it. And then you repeat that. And your formula is either going to blow up or shrink. And if it shrinks, then that's within the set. If it blows up, then it's not in the set. But it makes beautiful patterns. So if you look behind you on the screen there, you'll see that the way that it blows up gets a color code. And this is infinitely complex. This is an example of a fractal surface. And as we go in, you'll see some patterns that kind of repeat, but they're getting smaller and smaller. This is, let's see, 10 to the 2 times 10 to the 25th. So this is the number of iterations that it has done, and it's infinitely complex, and it just blows my mind. So that's awesome. And it's just that simple formula.
Do you have a link?
Pardon?
A link? A link to this?
Well, it's just Google Mandelbrot Set. You get a whole bunch of descriptions about it, and also examples.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. So my topic is supposed to be about a little bit about what I believe. So I'm a humanist, and the American Humanist Association has a motto that says "Good without a God." So I guess I'm a secular humanist. But there are other branches of there's Jewish humanists and Catholic humanism, and so what is it about humanism? Well, the emphasis is on the human part. And so I was raised in Montclair, New Jersey, in a loving family with a liberal Presbyterian church, but I sang with the Episcopal boys choir. So in the middle of Sunday school in my church, I'd hop on the bike and go over to St. James. And so you saw the back door, the back screen view of the Episcopal church, which was not a good way to develop religious stuff. You know, you get a split view and you get the so another significant event in my youth was that there was a youth retreat. Our Presbyterian youth minister gave a talk about predestination. That did not sit well with this scientifically inclined youth. So that was a low point there. And in grad school, I found the Lehigh Valley UU Church where they did folk music. And the other thing that was neat about that church is that right after the sermon, the audience had a chance to ask questions right there, right then and there. And they were good questions. So these were some of these Lehigh professors, and the minister, usually quite often a visiting minister, it was a small church. And so they asked tough questions. Now, as for what I believe, I refer you to the Humanist Manifesto, Revision 3. Revision 1 was in 1933, written by a bunch of UU ministers from the Midwest. And it had a lot of stuff that's in our principles. And they were mainly worried about the religion part. And then it was revised 2 more times, and it included more stuff like feminism and then the 3rd revision, they got more into environmental concerns. So the American Humanist Association did this 3rd revision. So that's your homework. If you want to know what it is, there's that. And my 3rd topic is carbon fee and dividend. No surprise. We're living in a time where the climate is falling apart, and our problem is we're burning fossil fuels faster than nature can absorb all that CO2. In fact, it took nature millions of years to accumulate those deposits of coal. And how did that happen? Well, Mother Nature had not yet invented cellulase, which is the enzyme that takes apart cellulose. So all that cellulose was growing because they had trees and giant ferns and stuff. And so they stacked up and got compressed into coal, and they didn't rot because no cellulase. So the cellulose accumulated in these coal beds. Took a million, well, it's only taken us 100 years to convert it to CO2 at the rate of 61 billion tons per year. And the oceans can't absorb it. Or if they do, the oceans are turning acidic. These we have massive problems. And I went to a seminar given by a group called Resiliency, which has a nice ring to it. You know, it's nice to be resilient. That has a positive ring to it. But I was very frustrated because our problem is we're still burning the coal. 61 billion tons per year accumulating in the atmosphere. And so they were trying to figure out in this resiliency effort, these were politician types. And they wanted to set up this framework with administrators and stuff so that we could, in an intelligent manner, prioritize the repairs that we need to make for this damaged climate and equity. They're worried about an equitable resiliency. And I said, I didn't speak up. I was almost did, but it's like if you're driving down the highway and you look ahead and you see that you're about to be involved in an accident. You know, an accident is going to happen. And you sit there and you think about, how am I going to repair my car? What should I do to repair my car that's going to be seriously damaged in this accident? Well, this is the time you should be putting your foot on the brake. Hard. Not just sitting there thinking about how you're going to repair your car. Put your foot on the brakes, for God. So, carbon fee and dividend is a proposal that my lobby group, Citizens Climate Lobby, has been lobbying Congress for 10 years. And it goes like this. We got to reduce the CO2 emissions. The economists say the best way to do that is with a tax. We tax carbon. We put a price on carbon. And our proposal, well, we don't like the word tax because we think people don't like taxes. So we call it a fee. And the fossil fuel producers would pay a fee per ton of the CO2 that their fuels will make. And so it starts off not too expensive, only $15 per ton of CO2. But then the next year it goes up by $10 each year. So in 5 years, we would catch up to where Europe is in terms of their price on carbon. And so where does the money go? Well, if it's a tax, the money goes to the US Treasury. And so Congress has to decide what to do with it. And you can pay off the national debt because we're talking, hundreds of billions of dollars, real money. And, or you could do research on a new power source or something. And so our proposal says, every month you put all those fees into a trust fund, and then at the end of the month, you divide by the number of citizens, and everybody gets an equal dividend. Right? So this means that every family, and an income study indicates that 70% of the families will be ahead because their footprint is not that large. Their carbon footprint is not, and even the wealthier people, it's not a lot. They're not being sought. And so this means that every individual and every family and every government agency and every company has to put on their economic common sense thinking cap and figure how, given the fact that the price of fossil fuel is going to be rising, what do we do? What can I adjust? And I got this dividend, so I can afford to insulate my house, or, so the responsibility is distributed. We have to figure out, but given the fact that fossil fuels will become more expensive than renewable energy, that will favor use and development. And we're also thinking that there will be innovation. So the act that got written up is called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, HR 2307. So I refer you to HR 2307. Did you write that down? All right. Are there any questions? Come on, someone answer. Yes, Tom.
Would your proposed dividend go to automobile owners or every family?
Every consumer, equally. So you're not penalized. You just have to. It's enough to cover the increase in the price of gas. But if you can figure out how to do your life without buying gas, you've got extra money in your pocket. Karen.
I have a question from somebody on Zoom. Since electricity comes from some carbon, how beneficial are electrical cars?
Well, if you're still burning coal to make the electricity, the electric cars don't help.
Yeah.
Because you're still burning coal to make the electricity. Now, my Tesla that I'm going to get next week is going to plug into my roof solar panels. So I'm a good person. But but as an economy, we have to get away from burning coal.
Well, that brings to another question here is what savings have you realized by solar panels?
My electric bill is $16 a month instead of 100 something. And I'm happy.
Isn't it true that electric motors are much more efficient than gas motors or internal combustion?
Yeah. Because you have to make the electricity somehow. So
True, but
it
it's
depends
not a
on
more
how
efficient way,
how
is it?
efficient is your electrical generator. They're about 30% efficient on a coal plant. So, and what's the efficiency of a solar panel? Well, about 20%, you know. Anything else? All right. Yes, Carol.
Did they try to do anything to incentivize people to use that dividend money on something that would benefit the environment? Or can you just take it and go to
You
go
can
to
drink
Disney
it.
World?
You could drink it. You could go to Disney World. That's right. It's so no.
So why are they giving it to all the individuals? Just to,
Well,
Make it
they're
more
gonna,
likely to
the
pass?
individual is gonna have an increase in the price of gasoline.
oh,
So, and the individual is, they can choose to insulate their home better. And it's a distribution of wealth. It's a progressive distribution, which is nice. That's what appeals to many of the people in the, we're not, and look what they've done with these electric cars. Like, the government understands tax credits. Well, you can't use a tax credit if you don't pay taxes. A lot of people don't pay income tax at all. And so and buying a fancy electric car, you know, it's been a subsidy to the wealthy. But the Congress is comfortable with that. They understand tax credits. But the dividend goes to everybody. And so we're dependent upon everybody using their economic common sense, knowing that the price of fossil fuels is going to go up, and spend it wisely. Well,
Is any country doing it that way?
Yes.
there are only 4 countries that do not, and we're one of those 4. Most of the countries in the world have a price on carbon. Canada has had one for a while. In fact, British Columbia had one for like 8 years, and it didn't hurt them. You know, they didn't give a distribution to as a dividend. They figured out a good tax rebate that would spread it around nicely. And so British Columbia is a good example of where and it had some positive results.
So what are the other 3 countries?
What?
What are you said there's 4 countries that don't.
Russia?
For some reason, Australia. I don't know why. They're weird. They do weird things.
Conservative politics. Well, so far away from the rest of the world. I mean, you know, they're kind of,
Sharon,
From the chat room, will landlords be motivated to insulate their rental homes?
well, let's see. The dividend goes to the consumer, and so not directly, I guess, as the answer. If you have to charge high rents because your heating bill is high, then your rents are going to be higher. So you want to operate in an efficient building so that you don't have to have a high rent. Steve.
There's a meetup group called Nova Social Philosophy Group, and next Thursday night, they're going to have a discussion on fixing climate via engineering. Do you have any idea about engineering being a possible solution to this?
Well, people talk about putting an aerosol artificial cloud in around the Earth so that some fraction of the sun's rays would be bounced back into space, and that sounds promising but risky. You know, hope they do it just right, because otherwise we would have an extended winter, and that would be just as bad. You know, if you're gonna mess with the dragon, I hope you got the right dragon control method. Okay.
When I was building my house, I got a price of $60,000 to do solar panels on my roof. And my electric bill is $300 a month. But it would still take 20 years or more to pay that off.
Can you share with us what you paid for solar panels for your house?
Well, my out-of-pocket was 9,200 for a total contract of 18,000.
And how do you find a good, reliable solar panel company?
I looked at several, and Duke had a list. And there was one that was Clean Air Carolina. They were partners with one of them. So this one is the Renewable Energy Design Group, RED. And the guy gave a talk that I listened to. And so I got a federal tax credit, and I also got a rebate from Duke, which reduced my capital costs. And but it's still a 9-year payback. So it's not a money-making deal. And
The payback will be shorter now that you have an electric car.
I don't know, I'll just run out of, and the Duke never gives me a penny. I just get energy credits. And the kisser is that on the last day in June, I might have accumulated energy credits over the year, but they get cut to zero.
Great.
Just before air conditioning season. Yes, sir.
Here is a fun question. Dodger wants to know what you liked to do as a kid.
Say it again louder.
Dodger wants to know what you liked to do as a kid.
I had a good train set in the basement, and I'd spent a lot of time on that. And Christmas would roll around, and I'd get new stuff, for the train set. And I played accordion and then string bass and then tuba. That was, and I sang Beethoven's Ninth. They took us out of the high school choir and taught us the German, and we went down to Newark and did it with the New Jersey Symphony. So that was a memory.
So this is not your first time singing Beethoven's Ninth.
It might be my last, because those high notes have only gotten higher. Well, are you ready for a song?
Sure.
All right. This song is by Pat Humphries. She's part of Emma's Revolution. And this song is, I'm going to ask you for a new verse. So think about the next verse. Keep on walking forward. I'm gonna keep on walking forward. I'm gonna keep on walking forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Yeah, I'm falling over here. And there's a drummer. She uses a drummer. We're gonna keep on walking proudly. We're gonna keep on walking proudly. We're gonna keep on walking proudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. Gonna reach across our border. Gonna reach across our border. Gonna reach across our border. Never turning back. Never turning back. Right. Now it's your turn to compose the next line here.
I'm gonna work to save this planet.
Work to save our. Gonna work to save our planet. Gonna work to save our planet. Gonna work to save our planet. Where's the harmony? Never. First.
Open our arms in kindness.
Excellent.
But you didn't take in the proxy, you took the new stuff.
What?
Oh, that's not, okay, so you
Uh-oh, we're getting.
I'm muted.
No, you said, what was it?
We're gonna open our arms in kindness.
Gonna open our arms in kindness. Gonna open our arms in kindness. Gonna open our arms in kindness. Never turning back. Never turning back. One more verse. Come on, girl. Come on. Crank it up.
Gonna treat all women equally.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you gotta sing the melody. I'm gonna go up this time. Gonna treat all women equally. Gonna treat all women equally. Gonna treat all women equally. Never turning back. Never turning back.
I've never heard you sing before. I think you should do that on Sunday as a solo.
Sure.
He's done some solos with the kids, when the kids were doing their students.
All right.
Thank you so much, Rich. We're very pleased to have heard of your inspiring stories about some things that we might be able to do for the environment and get us involved in song and many things and help us learn more about you. Thank you so much. So thank you, everybody, for coming, and we'll let you know about what happens in June.